were born in America. 20 years in the dawn of America. And it's not so terrible in America.
All right. Hello, and welcome to American Dreamland. I'm Max Chavez.
I'm Misty Stone.
Blocking.
I think given what we were doing in our prep, we can just give a real hearty fuck technology and the direction of our society. I not only was having tech problems setting up the recording, had tech problems in the middle of the recording before we started. So that's good. And then we just got on a rant about terrible IT stories we've all had at work.
I haven't really.
Yeah.
Well, at this job, it's not that bad because I barely have to interact with the technology, right?
Right.
But it's still like very convoluted when I do. So,
Yeah. Yeah, my day job's all tech. So when my access breaks down, I kind of need help. But when our own IT won't help me for 2 weeks, it makes it a little difficult to get anything done. But hey, if they want to keep paying me when I can't do my work, that's on them.
Well, listen, Misty, the important thing is you're doing patriotic work because I think now we can, unveil a little bit about you as you work for the Department of Government Efficiency. So clearly a
Yeah,
sign
I
of
do.
how well things are going.
hmm It's so good over there.
God, it's
Mm.
I feel we have to call back to I feel as someone who has a degree in English literature, I have to do a callback to Misty's brilliant title of making reference to the airborne toxic event from Don DeLillo's White Noise. And I cannot remember. Oh, the Dulles Airport extinction event. Thank you.
hmm
That the just update on past episodes, which is RFK being crazy. Have you two heard the latest uh things we've learned about RFK, the man in charge of public health in this country?
what
I know. What did we learn? Because I know he's been a little
This
kooky
is
again.
like almost only the like exposure I get from just the general internet. Because I have my little niche bubble that I just scroll through when I want
Yeah,
to, and I know that
that's
it's very niche. It's not
yeah.
the
Oh, you
general.
mean you're using the internet in a healthy way for an activity and not to consume your identity and freak out about the world?
Well, I if I get too much into that, I do tend to do that, but I'm just like, I don't know. It's just getting the blast from just what, for lack of a better word, like normies
Yeah.
engage with. It's just,
So yeah, the RFK news is we've learned that one, he doesn't have a gag reflex.
how did
hmm
we learn this?
He just started saying
He
it
just
in an
said that he didn't
interview.
have a gag reflex just out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
It's not like it's been tested or there's documentation. He just apropos of nothing said, I don't have a gag reflex. Um
Mm.
he also said that according to his doctor, he medically does not need toilet paper.
So RFK said that. I don't
Mm.
believe. I don't believe.
His ass is
I
stinky. It's dirty. It's gross. He's not wiping.
well,
No.
well,
Listen,
if he does follow the diet that he says he does, like I just don't know. I've never
You
gone
still
Chris,
in
need to
all.
wipe.
yeah,
You
first of
always need to
all,
wipe to check, right?
Yeah.
Like you always
Yeah.
wipe once to
folks,
check. Like there's no baby
folks,
that does
yeah,
no wipe. But
we're
even
clearly a
what I'm saying is like his diet. I don't think his diet makes it so he wipes and it's clean.
so
Mm,
I hate to do this because I tried to go down a little rabbit hole and then was briefly scarred, and I don't need to know. So just get this out of the way. We are a pro wiping podcast. I think we've clearly
Yes,
established.
Hey, I'll
obviously.
take it. I'll take it as far as I think everyone should have a bidet.
Well, yeah, no,
Yeah.
always like I don't have a bidet right now, obviously, and like it's I would say the situation I'm living in is like a step below like being in a college dorm situation, but then a step above like a couple of big steps above prison, right? So
Mm-hmm.
no bidets.
Okay.
But yes, bidet, and then you wipe to dry yourself off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chris, this is in no way implying that you're pro the carceral state in any way, but I don't think you really understand what American prisons are like when you're like,
I'm
okay,
talking about
it's
the common
like,
area,
uh, I know,
the bathroom specifically,
okay.
and like I don't know.
Well,
I think a lot of
famously,
prisons probably wouldn't have a kitchen that you could just cook yourself,
that's
right?
true.
That's what I'm
I would
saying. A
just
couple
say,
of big steps above, like
okay.
prison.
But anyway, I tried to like look into why RFK was saying this, and apparently an article in, I forget if it was like the Washington Post or something, but like a legit reputable um newspaper did a story on like all these like chuds who are like doing like the carnivore diet or whatever, or like one of these weird
Mm,
alternative RFK
yeah.
approved things.
Mm,
And an incredibly common thing is they use their dumps to determine like how effective their diet is, including
mm,
one guy who said he was on an all carnivore diet and then was explicitly using what is known as the Bristol chart, which is the chart doctors use to
yes, yes, I do.
determine. Yeah, he was going like, oh man, because of this diet, I'm exclusively using Bristol fours. Um, which is apparently means and then RFK said like you gotta look at nature and you gotta look at nature because animals don't use toilet paper and that's because their diets are balanced and it just falls out. I'll also note that this show, at least this host of the show, is pro being ableist if it's someone who got it from just unrepentant heroin addiction and then does nothing but destroy the public health system in the last 30 years of sobriety.
Mm, mm, yeah.
Or you do steroids and work out in jeans. That's
I feel like the all meat diet very well could make it so you like for us wipe once and it's clean, right? But I feel like a much easier way to do that is to eat how you normally do, but make sure you're getting enough fiber.
Yeah.
also,
Well,
I
you're
just want to
definitely
note,
not getting enough fiber in an all meat diet. You're just not shitting as
No, but
often.
like if you're in an all
yeah.
meat diet, like I feel like to me it would seem like the poop would be really hard,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah. Because you're not,
And
yeah,
you'd
there's
be
no fiber.
constipated,
Oh, yeah.
right? That I think that's what he's when he says he does it, you need to do like live culture shit because I think that's the only way to get things moving through your system
Oh, yeah.
on a regular basis.
Uh, I have to say, Chris, I agree with you to determine that, you're getting this. Unfortunately, I think the kind of people who would be able to give them the advice have to be in some way licensed by the state, which means these people aren't going to go within 100 feet of any of these places because they're
Mm,
corrupted by
Mm.
the listen, a doctor is giving me a bad diagnosis. I'm not going to say what ethnicity the doctor was. He was Jewish.
yeah, but my point
Uh,
is, like,
Casey, real quick, I'm going to include a Kanye clip so I don't just appear incredibly anti-Semitic and show what I'm
mm,
referencing.
okay,
Note to the editor.
you're the editor though?
Oh, we,
Oh, somebody else. Oh, is
my
somebody else
girlfriend.
editing this?
Anyway, yes.
Oh,
Either way, no. Note of I'm making a Kanye joke. Um, Yeah. So anyway, I think actually we should, since we're talking about people who apparently don't use toilet paper and have an all meat diet, that does bring us to our subject of today's episode, which is also shout out to children who, one, complained we didn't cover enough cryptids on the podcast. Two, then said aliens don't count as cryptid when we did like six straight alien episodes because it was at a time of legitimate UFO disclosure. And then
Aliens
three,
are the aliens are one of the modern cryptids.
I listen.
They serve the same cultural need, right?
I I
Tell us
agree with
in the
you. I
comments,
just
are aliens cryptids or not?
we know you're gonna say yes. I just didn't think it was worth my time to argue with a 9-year-old when I was driving down from Portland to California.
I would
Um,
argue with that 9-year-old.
I think that's maybe why I'm dating someone with kids and you're not.
Yeah, probably.
Um, but also, who then said we should do a werewolf episode? Who, when I asked this morning, "Hey, do you have anything about werewolves you want to say?" said, "No, not really."
What?
Mm, okay. Okay. Well, I've got some stuff to start us off about werewolves.
Oh,
Oh,
please
yes.
do.
Oh,
We
guys.
we're doing a winter preview of many episodes we're going to be going through. So we're obviously going to go over all of this again after we watch Werewolf by Robert Eggers, but we're warming up. So Misty, what have you gotten for us on the origin of
So
the Wolfman?
we, us humans, have been werewolf heads since the Epic of Gilgamesh, at least.
Yep. They're
Yeah,
very old.
they're very old. They're first referenced when Gilgamesh refuses to become a lover to Ishtar due to her turning a previous suitor into a wolf.
Mhm.
So that is one of our earliest references. But we also saw them in mythos with Zeus turning King like Cohen into a wolf as punishment for trying to trick him into eating human entrails.
And I just also want to take a quick note, which also Sakic's Christopher. This is why there's no real conservative art movement because Christopher Nolan is a conservative, whatever, I don't care. He's just not an insane one. He's just like a
Yeah.
liberal from the 90s. Anyway,
Yeah.
he was
What
able.
I like to say he's a small seed.
Small, yes, that's a good way. But either way, the point of that is he was able to make an amazing film out of a culture who decided to explain everything with, well, this was a person and a god got mad at them and turned him into it.
Mhm.
Because I've been playing Hades 2 recently, and the woman Athena turns into a spider for being a good seamstress is a character in that. So it's just like, why do we have spiders? Athena got mad at a lady.
And we love that. And then we
Yeah.
move forward a little more in time, and there was a really strong time in Europe where people really believed in werewolves, like for a couple hundred years. There's writings from Saint Augustine of Hippo, and he stated that witches could turn men into wolves. And so, with this belief from the church, Christians tried to turn any sort of shape-shifting conversation into witchcraft and sin. But stories and belief systems kept permeating through Europe for a good couple hundred years, especially in
And,
medieval Europe, where
and yeah,
yes, go ahead,
I know it's
Max.
not it's unusual for us to defend white people here, but I do want to say that one, they're they're technically not bestial werewolves because it's men turning into like actual wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and according to Robert Eggers, one of the reasons he had to do a specific era to film his new movie is because there was a in the early medieval era, several countries, wolves became an extinct species because they killed so many people. Most lords just declared jihad on them and were like, we gotta wipe these things out because they're killing way too many babies. So like
Yeah.
they're There's literally, like he says, like the last recorded existence of a wolf in England was like 1100. So he had to make a movie that took place before 1100.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
they were at least trying to address a problem that was real.
Yeah, they were. It was definitely out of the fact that we have there was so many werewolves in Europe because when we look at Africa, the Middle East, and the Arabian Peninsula, there's myths of were hyenas.
Hmm.
But in these myths, sometimes it's a hyena disguising themselves as a person,
Mm.
which I thought was interesting. I was like, oh. But in medieval Europe, it's the belief of werewolves. They continued to write about them and even codified some of it into law, where people claimed to see many men change into wolves and warned against them. Then we had some famous cases in the 15th and 16th century, where we had Giles Garner, who was burned at the stake for being an alleged wolf, and Stub Peter, who was executed for murder and cannibalism after he claimed he had a belt that turned him into a wolf. He also said, I killed all those people with my
Hmm.
wolf belt.
Um,
Venom?
hey, listen, true crime people, do a fun story about that guy because he was clear. I don't see what's different between David Berkowitz saying, "My dog told me to kill a bunch of people because he was God," and this magic pelt makes me into a werewolf to excuse my violent cannibalism.
Hmm. We also had Jean Grenier, who claimed multiple murders and disappearances, saying he had a skin that turned him into a wolf and was confined. They didn't execute this guy, though. They could just confined him to a monastery for the rest of his life.
It's so cool how that used to be a thing.
I was just surprised they were like, nah, I guess we'll just put you in the monastery.
Hold on. As we all know from the famous Umberto Eco novel, In the Name of the Rose, but more realistically, that movie was Sean Connery and Christian Slater as like 14th century monks. Sometimes monasteries back in the day just had weird human animal hybrids, a la the Ron Perlman pig man in that movie. So maybe that
Mm,
was just a
mm.
like that was like an ancient law of like when we got when we get a monster, we have to send them to a monastery to see if they can find God.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
That would explain
Yeah.
why they didn't just execute him like so many other criminals of the time.
So many other werewolves.
Well, because, if you're a common criminal in medieval France, you've been taught the gospel and you are choosing to turn away against God. Whereas if you're a demon hellhound, you may not have known the light of Jesus yet. So you have to be taught before you can reject.
Mm-hmm. I see. I think if I remember correctly, he lived 20 years after in that monastery.
You know what? That's being responsible because if you kill a pagan serial killer who does not know about Christ, then you're just putting him in limbo with all those unbaptized babies. And do you really want to put a serial
Mhm.
killer with a bunch of babies?
That is something to think about.
Yeah.
A serial killer who can turn into a wolf.
Oof. That means you can't catch him because you're looking for a dude. Because dogs don't go to hell. Everyone's just
Yeah,
like,
dogs
oh,
go to
dogs
heaven.
go to here. That's right. Oh my God, he found a way to sneak into heaven, which means he gets even baptized babies, which is worse, or the plot of Dogma happens, which means the end of everything.
But those are just some myths. We also see him in Viking lore,
Hmm.
but people think it might a theory, which I think has been a little disproven, is they think some werewolf stuff came from Vikings wearing wolf pelts when raiding, which maybe
Maybe.
inspired some stories, but I don't think inspired
Yeah.
the
It
whole.
may
I
have,
think it
It
really
was
was
probably like,
just the height of wolves
yeah.
at the
yeah.
time. And it makes
I
sense that in other areas they have like the hyenas because hyenas are also very scary.
This is this is an indication of, and I'm going to use a gender term because I want to insult men here, is it's man's quest of like, nah, dogs are my best buddy and they're awesome. So therefore, there must be a human dog hybrid. That's why in North Africa it's hyenas because that is the canine species there.
Mm-hmm.
I bet in China it's probably, whatever kind of like hunting hounds or whatever they had.
True. See, let's see real quick. Traditional Chinese folklore does not have werewolves.
What?
I mean, of course, almost all folklore has shape-shifting animal spirits, and their most famous would be like a fox spirit and maybe a were-tiger.
Fox, boom.
Yeah, there you go.
I was worried there for a second, and then what do you know? That's the real monomyth. We got to make that the real monomyth. Is of dudes being guys of just like we have a dog monster, and all societies have one, and also there's no anti-Semitism in our theory.
But let's shift to modern day. I feel like we have some cryptid werewolves just around some different spots.
Oh yes, I Misty, I don't know if you have any, but I did some research into American werewolf sightings, and I think you'll appreciate this. Of the most famous American wolf cryptid. Um, which brings me to a question I asked you before the recording is, Misty, what can you tell us about the town of Defiance, Ohio?
All I know about Defiance is it's somewhat close to Toledo, and Toledo is in the top five human trafficking capitals of the country.
Now, question. Is there a bunch of human trafficking that goes there, or is it a Sunnyvale or Sunnydale incident, like in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where monsters take
Mm.
a bunch of residents? Because the most famous uh, wolf cryptid I could find in America was a creature known as the Dogman of Defiance, Ohio.
And tell us about the Dogman, because there's a lot of Dogmans. I think Michigan has one
There's
too.
now here's the
Minnesota
thing.
has one.
I have noticed that it's weird how there's a lot of dogmen and they're almost entirely isolated to sightings in states that are competing for second place of America's drunkest state because realistically no one's ever going to beat Wisconsin. So yeah, it's a bunch of Midwestern states. Also, just as a weird thing, it seems like there's almost zero sightings of these creatures uh after the 2010s, and I have a theory behind that. But yeah, the Dogman of Defiance, Ohio was first spotted in 1972, where in the middle of the day, like two railroad workers were accosted um by a large, they claimed it was a beast, though he was man-like in shape, but had a lot of violent features.
Hmm.
And then he basically attacked them and like stole their money because it was payday or something. Um, and then there were a lot of other sightings, including a guy who claimed to be a county judge, according to the History Channel YouTube clip I saw. And he was basically just like, yeah, so the Wolfman's real. And I'm serious because I'm a judge. And then they show him as a judge. And it was weird, is because, he didn't have any, like his judge robes looked like it was like skin under it, and it's like, huh, that's weird that the judge robes would go so high. And then they cut to his interview where it's just him in a red t-shirt, and the neckline of that t-shirt is like right where a judge's robe would be, right under. So I'm just like, oh, you just wear a t-shirt and jeans to your job at the courthouse. Um, so he's like, I'm a judge, so I use reason and logic in order to do anything. Anyway, when I was a dumb teenager, uh, in the mid 70s, I was running in rural Ohio, and I was trading for this is an unnecessary detail, but it's great. He says he was running in the fields at like 5 in the morning because he was a
Okay.
track and field athlete who was training for the Bratfest.
Oh,
Where you
okay.
eat
I mean,
where you eat bratwurst.
He didn't explain what Bratfest was or why someone would trade for track and field before the Bratfest,
we have a
but
pretty big German community,
Yeah.
at least where I grew up in Ohio, so I would imagine it was one of those big festivals they put on, and they're just like,
oh yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah.
because even in my town there was like when the Germans were cooking, everybody was like, yes, let's go to the German club.
Yeah, it's totally believable to me that a high school track and field athlete would be running in a field at 5 a.m. if they lived in a rural town. Um, I guess it's just weird that they decided to have a track meet at the Bratfest, but
I think for Ohio it's not weird, to be
okay,
honest.
no.
It makes
I'm
sense as an Ohioan.
Yeah, you have to forgive me. I come from a highfalutin lot. Even the strain of my family that comes from the Midwest is pretty much isolated to Chicago. So,
Mm-mm.
but yeah, so he was just saying that he was running and there was a creature chasing him. And it was basically him saying that he knew it wasn't a bear because he was from the country and also bears don't live in Ohio, which I think is a much more sound reason, but whatever. And then he just kept saying, like, I knew something was chasing me. And he called it the Dogman, but he does describe it like it's a bear person, which I find very funny that he's describing something that's a different type of predator. Um, and yeah, he was just going like, yeah, anyway, that's the only time I encountered it and I never saw it again. He basically described either running away from a wild animal or, since it was the late 1970s, a large pedophile,
Mm.
who is
Well, I did add a photo of an artist rendition of the
the
Defiance
dog man.
Dogman.
Yeah.
That's on
Uh,
the cryptid website, and I just like that he's in overalls. He's on the train tracks because that's where he was first spotted, and he's just holding a giant log.
Now, Misty, I know we have a lot of jovial fun about the great state of Ohio, which, for the record, has produced more presidents and astronauts than any other state in
Hmm.
our nation. I'm
Yes, yes.
that's I'll try and think of something else about Ohio that I can say later, but I do want to say that there are versions of the original story where the reason they might depict him in overalls is because they did describe that he was in clothes, um, and also that he robbed him. And I don't want to demean the great blue collar workers of 1972, Defiance, Ohio, who go to the police in order to earn back the money that was stolen from them. But is it possible that there was just a large hairy man who didn't wear a shirt and overalls who saw two drunk railroad workers on payday and then just robbed them?
Potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, because what's that? Because another thing that they think might have inspired werewolves is what that disease where you just grow hair everywhere.
Yeah.
And maybe it was that guy.
Yeah, could be. I guess I'll also note that there are multiple other sightings of various dogmen in Ohio. Um, but it turns out that over the last 10 years, there's been a massive drop in Ohio specific sightings of dogmen, um, which weirdly coincides with one. Because of climate change, bears are now actually invading Ohio from Michigan. So there's
Mm-mm.
like a black bear epidemic.
We've always
Uh,
had some, because even from the Pennsylvania side, we've always had some
yeah,
black
okay.
bears wandering in.
Okay. Well, there's that. I guess the other thing is, it's a weird thing, is another thing that happened in the mid 2010s in Ohio was they signed something called the Dangerous Exotic Animal Sales Act
Mm-hmm.
because one of those unlicensed Joe Exotic type zoos had a bunch of wild animals escape and cause chaos in a small town in Ohio in like 2011. So
Oh, you mean
Ohio,
it's Zanesville?
yeah, Zanesville, thank you. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm having tech issues, so I can't pull up my notes right now. But yeah, so it was made in response to the Zanesville zoo escape. It basically said, "Hey, you can't have most exotic animals in Ohio." And I remembered also that sometimes the dogmen were described very chimp-like, which reminded me that in the documentary Chimp Crazy, the woman who's hiding Alan Cummings' friend Chimp, or Chimp
Mm-hmm.
friend, goes to an Ohio sanctuary at one point and talks to a man who I don't want to besmirch, but may be up for some less than legal things due to being fired from his job as a city manager for committing hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraud.
Mm.
Just um so I guess that's to say, I don't know. There might have been a lot of strange exotic animals that might not have been kept under proper living habitats that I don't know
Oh
could have
no. I
gotten
mean,
out.
in
And
my hometown, we had one of those.
yeah, so also maybe they would get out at strange times
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to be honest, a lot of these dogmen accounts, they call them dogmen. They do not describe dog-like features. They describe
Well,
various wild animals. And wouldn't you know it, sightings went down once the government started to be real harsh about arresting people with unlicensed zoos.
it's interesting you say that, Max, because we also have another dog man type situation in Wisconsin. I think, and also a famous one is the Beast of Bray Road. But a lot of the people that saw it insisted it was a werewolf, but the cryptozoologists have labeled it as a Bigfoot.
Oh,
Is it so that I
Well,
found that interesting.
there's Bigfoot werewolf crossover.
now
Mm-hmm. Bigfoot
again,
werewolf crossover.
I hate to play the skeptic,
Mm.
but is it possible that when you're at what I and the Department of Health and Human Services likes to lovingly call Wisconsin drunk, um, let's say a vicious wild chimp or gorilla escapes from an unlicensed zoo, um, and you're shit faced, may you just see it in the street and go like, "That's a fucking werewolf," because your mind can only comprehend those words, and then you just kind of go with the story. And then, of course, because the DNA evidence is primate, the cryptozoologist would assume Bigfoot.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
I
that
just
makes
want to do
sense.
one
I
more.
mean,
Yeah,
oh,
one
sorry.
more
I
thing on the
guess.
skeptic.
Hmm.
Yeah, one more thing on the skeptic front is also I was looking over the Ohio Department of Agriculture webpage about how to follow the Dangerous and Exotic Animals Act. Uh, and in the FAQ, uh, whereas like our boring ass state like California would just have a list of like animals you can own and animals you can own. Whereas the question is Ohio is like, wait, can I not buy a monkey? And then you click on it, and then it tells you what kind of monkeys and primates you can legally purchase and own in the state of Ohio.
Mm.
Um,
Honestly, I don't think we should be owning any primates, even the small ones.
no, this is not a comment about the ethics of animal owning. It's just very funny that, like, I don't know, like, if California passed a law like that, like, I think people would just be like, oh, if it's a weird animal, I probably can't buy it, as opposed to, we need to
Hmm.
tell the people what. we were very specific for whatever legal reasons about what animals you can and cannot own. We have to clarify so that our dumbass residents will only buy legal monkeys.
So do what we do is like we just say these are the animals you can own, and every other animal like is dubious at best. And then
I think it's
there's
more
some
like we
animals
have
that
a
are outright banned because there's some animals that are outright banned because they've had a problem with people owning that particular type of
yeah.
animal.
I would say, like in California, we probably have a very firm list of animals that are banned to own and that you cannot have sales with. And then it's basically if it's not on that list because we have somewhat rigorous, animal welfare and sale laws, it's probably like okay, if you can treat it under these conditions and we didn't outright ban it, you have a loophole, you can go through that. That's fine. Um, Regardless, even if Ohio does it that way, I still don't. I still find it funny that they can't just be like, well, we'll just say what you can't do, and then people who really want a small monkey will figure out what they can legally own and get in the state of California. They just have to look it up. Whereas opposed to like, I think our FAQ would be more like hey, what should I do if I see a dude who owns a tiger? Whereas in Ohio, they have to be like, wait, so I can't own a monkey? No, legally you can own a marmoset in the state of Ohio. A government employee had to write that sentence out on the official webpage that you can legally own a marmoset in Ohio.
We love it. I mean, thinking about this, could these also be sightings of wolf dogs?
Possibly.
Maybe.
Because
Do you, do you mean a bunch of shit-faced people who were probably doing something illegal on their own, saw a terrifying predator and were just like, ah, werewolf, whatever.
yeah, because I'm just thinking there's a lot of wolf dogs around, and I think in the Midwest it's not like you're really exposed to an actual wolf, and people don't realize how big wolves can be.
That is also true. Like,
Mm.
I mean, in general, I'm not the greatest with like distance and stuff, but I don't think. Also, like, if I was like drunk or terrified and I saw a wolf standing upright, like on top of a fence or something, I would probably think like, oh shit, it can walk like a dude. Like,
Mm.
there's a lot of flaws with, unlike Sasquatch, where listen, you probably saw something if you think you saw Sasquatch.
I do find it interesting. There's contention, though, it seems like in the cryptozoologist with where it seems like because the one of the reasons also they gave on why they're calling uh the beast of Bray Road Bigfoot is that they wanted to avoid dealing with scientific absurdities involved with the werewolves.
Hmm.
Do you mean
So I find it interesting they find the werewolf a scientific absurdity, but not the Bigfoot.
Yeah, like I feel like the shape-shifting aspect of it is way more outlandish than there just being a different species out there.
do you think that this is like the city manager of Bray River or whatever, Wisconsin, going like these yokels are so stupid. We got a wolf attack in this town, and they're mad at me for not being prepared for a werewolf rather than we had an unlicensed zoo or whatever in this town. Um, and he was just like, there will be too much conflict if like Bigfoot researchers come into this town. We cannot be a hub for them. So we just have to call it a werewolf because we're not going to get people who are going to want to investigate it at in our bars and whatever, causing problems with the locals.
Mm,
Also, obviously, of course, a werewolf doesn't confine to the rules of science. It's magical. It's a
yeah,
curse. Duh.
duh.
Yeah, come on. We knew back in the day that it was witches.
Obviously.
We
It
knew.
listen, every ancient story is literally just someone pisses off a magical power, whether it be Zeus, Ishtar, a witch, like
We knew back in the day, the Catholic Church knew the witches were turning the men into wolves.
hmm and that is
Men have
why.
never been the problem. It's always women. They're
Yeah.
evil and they'll turn you into a wolf.
And now a lot of like horny people just wanna fuck werewolves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think it really depends on the type of werewolf because you have a werewolf that's in control. You have the werewolves that like don't remember shit on the full moon.
Yeah.
And then isn't there a third type I'm missing, or is that the two main ones?
Those are the two
Um,
main ones.
yeah.
I
Listen, if we want to get into, I did have a brief thing about it, but since I can't get to my notes, like, if we want to go into, if we want to do a non-furry episode and talk about all the ways in which people get weirdly horny and put their weird psychosexual desires on wolves, there's a little role-playing game from the makers of Vampire the Masquerade called Werewolf the Apocalypse, which just has like 20 different werewolf types, and they all have like different things, including like there's a radical terrorist turf wing of werewolves who like hate men. And like do the lady who shot Andy Warhol stuff, but as werewolves.
well, I just sent it. Oh no. Let's see if it works. I'm trying to send a photo that was taken on January 29th, 2020 by Dan B. Morgan. He was driving down Weeks Road, which is a mile away from Bray Road, and he
Uh-huh.
claims to have taken this photo of a wolf walking on its hind legs.
Its
Now,
forearms look
most
like they're bone. Like they're
Yeah.
bone meat on them.
If this is a real creature, it is a mangy ass dog. First of all, you could maybe get me to believe if I was of the mindset, and I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of like, of course, like I'm killing the skeptic in my head. Like that is a fucked up chupacabra if I've ever seen one. That is not a werewolf. Also, Morgan, or sorry, Misty, I'm opening this file and saving it to my hard drive because this is clearly going to be our episode picture.
I love it. I think, some people said it's not real because it doesn't have motion blur.
Mm.
Mm. He's not
Uh,
actively, it seems like this creature is standing still.
does now wait, when did you say this picture was taken? In January?
January 29th, 2020.
Okay. If it was closer to Halloween, I could see this being like, oh, my son fucked up on taxidermy. Let me put out a Halloween decoration. Because like that does look like a weird, it could just be a fake thing someone just stuck in their yard.
It could be. It does look like a little project, Like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't have enough of a wolf fur left to cover its arms.
Yeah.
It also doesn't look very large.
No, that's why I said it's a fucked up chupacabra because it's like it's clearly it has canine features and like there's something up with it, but like I would not assume animal person. I would assume animal. Like it's dog size.
It honestly too could be maybe not like a coyote head.
Oh wait, a mangy creature that's in the wild scavenging and freaking people out. That never happens with the coyotes.
Never ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a fun one. I,
hmm
I want to believe. I want to believe that guy's walking around on his hind legs. Just, he looks innocent. He just looks a little fucked up.
Maybe
He's
he
just
was
looking for
mugged.
love.
Maybe he's like
They-
one of the guys in Fargo during that car crash scene. Like if one of the people had actually gotten away from Peter Stormare or whatever, and Steve Buscemi.
And
Mm.
they ripped the flesh off his arms.
Like he had to do the dog had to do that to get out of the car, and was able to
Yes.
run away because Steve Buscemi or Billy Bob Thornton, if you consider the TV series canon, was like doing a hit on something.
Hmm.
Yeah, no. I also want to note just a thing I love about the Dogman is there's a show on History Channel called Monster Quest, which was amazing. They did a whole episode dedicated to the nature of the Dogman and the American werewolf. And it basically comes down to a lot of first of all, I found out that in 1987 there was a popular song about all the dogmen, and it's just a weird spoken word thing. And was apparently a radio hit, which is very funny. Um, but Monster Quest did an episode, and they basically said they had two cryptozoologists and a Native American go into the woods, and it's so funny because at the end of the episode, they're all just like, "I think we all saw something to show that there's a lot more wild nature here than one would assume." And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're in rural Michigan in the middle of the forest. Of course, there's wild animals. Um, and what's great is the Native American guy. He's like, yes, Native Americans have many stories, and then proceeded to just do this like vague, basically what Misty did at the start of the episode is like, here's some anthropological views about werewolves, and at no point says they just were like, my people think spirits can get upset, but he never names the spirit or what tradition or even what people he's a part of. So I think he was just like, yeah, I'm Native American. I guess I'll go camping with these guys and make money to just say, yeah, some tribes have wolf spirits and just move on with his
Which
life.
which is fair.
Yeah.
Which is a fair way to make money.
Yeah. Why not?
I think we all approve of like getting one over on the History Channel. Uh
Oh, yes, yes.
they also I don't know why they did it this way. The guy who wrote the song is also a radio producer, and then he said ever since the song, people kept sending him werewolf stuff of like, here's my evidence or whatever. So he eventually started a website, and he said that an old lady, or no, sorry, someone sent him old 8 millimeter films that hadn't been developed from like the 1970s that he bought at an old lady's garage sale. And so he developed them and he put them on his website, and it was a video, it was just like a collection of these Super 8 videos, and it's just like a mix of home movies and then a couple of weird sightings of a wolf-like creature. Um and then like what appears to be like police shooing people away from a dead body. And then it's like, oh, this got so popular on YouTube and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, unfortunately, this guy changed his story. And then it turns out it was just a fake like project a guy did who just was like, I wanted to see if I could make a Wolfman movie using Super 8 videos. And then just sent it to the werewolf guy. He's like, do you like my thing? And people just took it as real. So he had to come out and say, no, I faked it. I didn't intend for people to think this was real. He says, he's just like, I don't know. I thought it'd be fun because the Dogman stories were like really big in the 70s. And I have a bunch of like vintage 70s trucks and snowmobiles in my yard. So
I
I
mean,
thought it'd be,
I guess that'd be a testament to how good his special effects were, right?
it was also, first of all, in my head, I'm like, this is fake as hell. Like the first time I saw it. And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure this is a dude in a suit. And then it was revealed to, in fact, be a dude in a suit. I also want to say this dude filmed it in like the early 2000s. It wasn't like he just did the aesthetic. But even he at the end is like, man, I kind of wish dog people were real. I'm sad my videos weren't real. But just like it just seems very funny, like how much there are certain people who are trying to make it a thing when it's just like no one has the wherewithal. Listen, the Patterson Gimel guys, one of them went to his grave saying it was real and then said, "Oh yeah, by the way." Like they had a pact that it's like one of us has to die because it'd be really funny if one of us took it to our graves and then the other one then said it was fake. So they had like a deal where it's like after one of them dies, they'll just come forward. But yeah, they're so trying to make it a thing, but no one has the will to like pull through. Like you have a
Mhm.
viral video on YouTube that makes people think a werewolf is real. Like you wait until you're caught and then you lie. That's the
Yeah.
story you're supposed to do. And then literally this is like, wait, I thought you got it. You said you got it from an old lady, not a guy found it in his basement. All right, you caught us. It was all fake.
I mean, do any of us believe in werewolves?
No.
No. I, I just feel that like so much of like the original werewolf stories were just like they weren't these like sexy things that like you transformed and you had rage. It was just like, oh, you get turned into the just straight up animal that is vicious and killing us by the dozens when our
Mm.
village is made up of like 300 people. Like
Hmm.
like there are probably small villages in Europe that basically had the same number of people die from the Plague as wolf attacks in like the Middle Ages. So like, and then we just started
And
to,
Yeah, like so Martin Luther actually basically I don't know if he how literal he was being with it, but he compared the Pope and the like Charles V or whatever the fuck the emperor was as werewolves. I think it was just a catch-all, like this is a horrible, evil, like person, entity, whatever. Like,
yeah, that seems
oh
more of
yeah.
like a, hey, why are you listening to these like ugly inbred Spanish and Italian fucks? Like we're Germans, goddammit.
um,
And I think it was just a commentary on, to describe the monstrous still if there's a big theme of cannibalism with werewolves in terms of them
Hmm.
eating humans. So I do think, and one of the guys we talked about had claimed to eat his victims. So I think it was also used to describe people who might have partaken in murder and cannibalistic tendencies. And people were like, "You're crazy for that. You must have turned into a wolf or been possessed by a
but
wolf
like
spirit."
you have those cannibalistic tendencies, but like you still have your sort of like status and place in the community, right? Like you
Hmm.
have that and then you have that double life where you like change and then like kill innocent people.
Yeah. I mean, just to briefly go back to like how these people were probably a lot of Dogman sightings were done by drunk people, is that is the classic like drunkard's reply of it's like, you know, I got blackout drunk and did a bunch of terrible things. In fact, Kyle Kinane has a joke about it, about how he thought he was a werewolf because he kept passing out at night and waking up to just a wrecked room.
And do we think that, I don't know, I lost my train of thought.
I think what it is and this I think has to do is it's really hard to respect the werewolf, the old classic werewolf, because people who get weird and sexualize them formed their own community and basically founded the furry movement and all of that. So like they were able to get that psychosexual desire out. And then they've always been this just like terror. It's not like vampires, which were like a myth in a few cultures, and then Bram Stoker was like, let me use this to make an allegory for repressed sexuality or whatever. And then it just there's a respected literary work, and then people got weirdly horny about it. And what that metaphor was. Um, like werewolves don't really have that.
Mm.
Um, and then also I feel like, yeah, like
Well, werewolves are too old to have that, really. I feel.
werewolves are too old to have that. I also think it is like,
Mhm.
as much as we may like make fun of like Twilight girlies or whatever, it's like, I get it. You're a teenage girl who's just overcome with lust, and this is what was popular in the culture at the time, or whatever. Um, or, you know, whereas like werewolves, it's just like the arguments and things they have is just the most annoying and pedantic stuff. Like,
Mm.
we were originally just going to talk about our werewolves, but I think we all very quickly were like, this is just a bunch of weird nerds being angry. Because there's one post about like there's so many posts about werewolf designs. A lot of people getting
Mhm.
I saw two different posts about people getting horny over the Van Helsing werewolf design.
That's where it
Um,
started, really. Before Twilight, there was Van Helsing werewolves.
yeah.
Yeah, when I tried to look, I was like, let's peruse the paranormal cryptid subreddits. A lot of it's like, no, but I've seen a Bigfoot, or I think I saw something. Nothing like that popped out necessarily.
That's why Bigfoot's it's always number one.
Bigfoot's always
Bigfoot
number
is
one.
also
I
number
think,
one because go ahead, Misty.
oh, I was going to say, I think if we were doing this podcast in the medieval times, it'd be the
Yeah,
werewolf.
werewolves would be number one, but we're not in medieval times. It's Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot
Mm.
time.
I think we'd also I don't know. I think we'd be in a lot more trouble for how we discuss anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and defending the Jewish
Mm,
people. Uh, that might be more controversial uh, if we were doing it in medieval times.
Mm.
true.
Folks,
True,
that's
true.
the real problematic question. Not are aliens cryptids. If this podcast was made in medieval times, would Jews be considered cryptids?
Probably.
I mean, there are people who were born in our parents, like there are people my parents' age who legit thought Jewish people had horns. Like it
What?
was an
Mm.
ethnic trait. Yeah.
That's I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not saying it was you. I'm just saying like people until very recently thought that like, it's kind of like that racist trope about people of African descent having an extra bone or whatever. Like they
Yeah.
thought that about Jewish people, just it was horns.
Mm. Max is always hiding his horns.
Mhm. I mean,
But, I've never seen a werewolf. I feel like too growing up, I heard more stories of like demon dogs, like myths of like the red-eyed dog or
Mm.
yeah.
just evil dog spirits.
I think what it is, and this deals with other things like we've talked about, is like people trying to do too much instead of just telling a story. That's why I think like John Lear is a much more trustworthy person than Bob Lazar. Now, what I mean by that is, do I think that John Lear's things about how the moon people did 9/11 is true? Absolutely not. But I think he thought it was true, and it's not necessarily malicious, so I wouldn't mind, say, like leaving a child with him. Whereas Bob Lazar is just like, you're way too shifty and there's something generally weird about you. Like you're covering up way too much. And also, where were you when your first wife died?
Where was Bob? Well, he was with his other new wife.
Who was also allegedly groomed by his first wife as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit going on there.
Folks, I think I found out the thing is, what we've talked about is we've talked about a lot of alcohol abuse. However, I've done it from the framework of making fun of the Midwest for being alcoholic, not these particular individuals, which makes me think the reason werewolves just don't have the juice in the country is because the people who are interested in them are normal, well-adjusted people who had a frightening experience at one point in their life. Unlike, say, the
Mm-hmm.
alien people or the more extreme Bigfoot people who are like, my marriage is being destroyed.
Now, do we
I
think a
don't think we're
werewolf
gonna find a
could?
werewolf. I don't think we're gonna find a werewolf hunter who is gonna be as bold as that Sasquatch hunter from Ohio who is just like, I started getting into Bigfoot when my marriage was on the rocks.
Oh no, 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 no. I don't. No, I mean, I really is sad. I think the age of the werewolf is over, but maybe werewolf coming out this Christmas will revive that.
Maybe.
See, we can
Maybe
hope.
we can always
However,
dream.
like, I don't know. I guess, did we ever get I know the Northmen, we didn't get any raise in Viking culture. Was there a raise in old sea-timey 19th century homosexual relationships after the Lighthouse came out?
Mm, there could have been.
There could have been. I just don't remember. It's not my scene, so I wasn't really aware of that. Now, I will say there was a rise in weird, goopy sex interest after Nosferatu, but it wasn't vampire
Mhm.
specific. It was just weird, goopy sex.
I would say though, going back to the sea, I feel like hasn't it always been gay?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is,
So was it ever not? Because the Navy's still known as the gayest.
listen, well, let's be honest. The Navy's known as the gayest, not because they're trapped on a boat at sea, because there's not much difference between a boat and a barracks, but whatever.
Mm.
They're the gay one because they're the brainy ones. You actually
Yeah.
have to have some level of
They actually have to know
intelligence.
how to like like use their brain.
Yeah, you also have to be somewhat more psychologically well adjusted
Mm.
if you're going to be on like a submarine, like
Yeah.
things like that.
Mm.
Um, but no, here's the thing. Missy, I don't know how involved we were socially during the period where Chris and I were reading Moby Dick for the first time, and we were like, "Oh yeah, the gay book." And I think I've even mentioned it on the podcast. The third chapter, and these chapters are like 2 pages each. So this is like 6 pages into like a 500 and something page novel. It is like, and then I awoke, and Queequeg was holding me like his sea wife, and I had never slept better. Like, there's, I just want to be out with my bros in the open ocean and maybe do some manly blue collar work or see the South Pacific. And then there's getting reamed like a sea wife going to sea. So there's variations to it. So there's, I want to do sodomy on a boat, and there's, I want to do it, but I want to wear a little fancy newsboy cap and vest while we do it.
Mm, I
Mm.
just think the sea is where you can be free. It's where men can be men.
In a little place we like to call international waters. And with that, for American Dreamland,
How did we
I'm
get to
Max John.
that?
I don't know.
I'm Misty
Folks,
Stone.
we really wanted to do a fun werewolf episode, but it's just like some drunk dude saw some stuff, and there's no weird, like, divorce guys. I promise you, we will be
Yeah.
talking about divorce for our next episode, which is number 50.
Divorce.
For American Dreamland, I'm Max Chavez.
I'm Misty Stone.
I'm Christopher Locken.